Hi, I'm T.R. Simon, and I'm the author of Zora and Me, The Cursed Ground, which is book 2 in the Zora and Me series. Book 1 I wrote with my best friend, Victoria Bond, and it was called Zora and Me. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I came up with this idea to write a book for her. When I was young, I loved playing outside, I loved nature. I'm from DC, my people are from North Carolina. So in the South, your mother just opens the door and you go out and play during the day. And so nature was a big part of my life growing up. And I liked books like Tom Sawyer and Caddy Woodlawn because I was kind of a tomboy. And so as I was thinking about how would I write a book for my daughter when she was in her middle grade years that would give her the things that I wanted to have as a 10 or 12-year-old, I thought about Zora Neale Hurston, and I thought about Dust Tracks on the Road, and I thought about her childhood in Eatonville, Florida, the first African-American incorporated town in America. And I always thought of Zora's childhood as magical because it produced her, and she's such a magical, incredibly talented, amazing woman of letters in American literary life. And I thought, what if you take somebody like Zora with this irrepressible curiosity, with this brilliant mind, with this drive to uncover the truth, and what would she be doing in her hometown on a lazy summer day, for instance? And I thought, well, she'd be solving a mystery. So I thought, well, what if Zora was kind of like a young girl detective? And so I called Vicki up and I said, I've got this idea. And I love Vicki's writing. I think Vicki's a beautiful poet and a beautiful writer. And I said, you gotta come over because I can't do it alone. So you have to come over, will you write this with me? And she was like, okay, but you better make lasagna. So I made her lasagna and she came over and I told her about the idea and she liked it. And so we started thinking, how do we do it? And for the first book, we realized we couldn't write as Zora. That felt like a violation to us because there's only one Zora. But what we could do was we could pull a kind of a Sherlock Holmes. So we put our love for Zora into her best friend, Carrie. And so the story is told from Carrie's point of view. And so like Watson to Sherlock Holmes, all our love for Zora, all the good feelings we have for Zora are contained in the character of Carrie. And we also, because we're best friends, we love the idea that it was a story about two best friends who are having adventures in the world. And the first book, there's a little snippet in her autobiography, Dust Tracks on the Road, where she talks about a headless body that had turned up near Eatonville. And we sort of used that as the seed and we crafted a mystery around it. And that's book 1, where they literally solve a murder. And book 2, which I'm writing alone this time, and book 3, Vicki will write alone. So in book 2, Zora and the Cursed Ground, they are now 12. In book 1, Zora and Carrie are 10. In book 2, they're 12. And in this book, they're growing up, they're becoming more mature. And in this book, they're reckoning with the history of Eatonville. So in my second novel, it's a parallel story. It's set in 1903 in Zora and Carrie's 12-year-old childhood. It's also set in 1855. And what we discover is that one of their community members, an older man in Eatonville, is stabbed. And he won't tell them who did it. He won't tell anybody who did it. And the woman who's the town conjure woman, because you have to remember, under Jim Crow, we didn't have necessarily doctors who would come, and so the town midwife might also be the town conjure woman, the woman that people went to for healing, usually an older woman. She came and she tended to him, and they realized that they have a secret between them, and Zora's mind is burning to find out what that secret is. And that secret takes them all the way back to slavery. And they have to understand Eatonville not as this Edenic town that holds black life. I mean, you have to imagine, they're living in Jim Crow, but they have a black mayor, they have a black sheriff, everybody that they know is black. They're kind of growing up in this cradle of black culture that's buffered in a very particular way from the horrors of white supremacy around them. And here they realize that Eatonville wasn't always that. And like all children, when they have to grapple with the really hard history that is American slavery, they're changed by it. And often we talk about the country being haunted. And I took that metaphor and I literally made a haunted house. So this is also a ghost story, because I think ghosts are one of the ways in which we have memory, particularly as Black people, and particularly as Southern Black people. And so in seeing this ghost and in trying to find out the secret between the two elders in their community, they have to touch on the real contours of slavery, on the horror of slavery. And they have to reconcile themselves to the fact that people they know that are still alive actually lived through slavery. And in the process, they solve an antebellum murder, a 50-year-old murder. They actually solve it, and they help restore a kind of justice. Not a conventional kind of justice, but a spiritual justice. And in it, we see them grow even closer and deeper in their friendship. And we see the power of what girls can do together. Because I think one of the great strengths for Black women in particular, for all girls, but particularly for Black girls, are our friendships with other girls. For me and Vicky, our friendship is one of the most enriching parts of our lives. And we wanted to represent that. And Carrie and Zora also have another close friend named Teddy. And Teddy holds, I think, all of my dreams of Black boys and masculinity. Teddy wants to be a vet. Teddy loves nature. Teddy is not afraid to be friends with girls. He's not afraid to respect smart girls. And he's still a boy's boy, and he can still hold his own with the guys. And I wanted them to also have that richness of having a Black boy that they could share these adventures, that they could draw in with them. And he would have another kind of perspective, because Teddy's very rational, and unlike Zora, he believes in science and he believes in logic. And so they have this beautiful kind of tension between the seen and the unseen world between them. And so that's a little bit about me and Zora too, and I hope people like it. I put a lot of love into it because Zora is probably one of the most important writers that I read in my life. And I would really love for young people to be able to discover her earlier than I did. It took me till my sophomore year in college to find Zora. And I would love for, a 12-year-old to pick up our series and say, who's Zora Neale Hurston? I want to find out. Because Zora is a gift to us as Black people. She's a gift to the world as a writer. And she's a very special gift to us. Thank you.